Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And wow, the Nintendo NX has officially been announced, including really, it's already been announced, but more details. More details, but not a lot. So Nintendo just recently announced that the Nintendo NX, Nintendo's next console, will be released in March of 2017. um, and not really much else in terms of details. We've heard rumors before that the new system will be running or might be running on some version of Android, and that it's going to have another special controller uh, that's unlike anything that's been seen before. And there'll be games, but not much mention of games. And this whole news, I'm just like not really excited about it. Okay, as anybody who knows who keeps up with gaming, Nintendo and many other great game companies as before, like Konami, mostly Konami's changed a lot. Capcom, Sega, any of the big names, Electronic Arts, Activision, all these game companies, they've been around for a long time. They were there, some of them since the beginning. Even Atari is still around. So the gaming landscape has changed a lot. And the announcement of the Nintendo NX, I mean, at least for me, I just really don't care, and I'm not really excited about it. And I think that might be the attitude of a lot of gamers or people who play video games, unless you are really, really into Nintendo and you've been a long time Nintendo fan, because the gaming landscape has changed. I mean, just look at the recent release of the Star Fox Zero. It's got really mediocre reviews, and I mean, Nintendo's not always going to have a smash hit, but it's Nintendo. You expect a certain level of quality, and this is very mediocre. And if you go to news right now, anywhere on the internet, you could go to any Reddit site. So people are talking about the NX, okay, but this is nothing like what it was before in terms of console announcement or console releases. I did a recent episode on the PlayStation Neo, and I shared some of my thoughts on consoles. And a lot of people believe that the consoles they are changing in terms of they're pretty much dying. I don't think it's more of dying. I would say as more of a transition. Okay, in one case you could say that yes, it is the death of the consoles, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. But it is heading to the point where consoles are not going to be as important anymore as it used to. Because before, whenever a new console would be released, everybody was excited about the specs, what it can do. That's first and foremost. Everybody was excited about that, the specs and how it's going to look, and especially before the internet age, where the only way you could find out what's going to be coming out is mostly through magazines, and so you really didn't know what to expect, what it's going to be offering. So your level of excitement was even higher because you did not know, But now with the age of the internet, it's you pretty much know sometimes even before some of the companies know because of leaks and so forth. And so it's it's not that exciting anymore, and it all comes down to the games. Okay, now back in the day, when I say the day, I mean the original Nintendo, the original Sega Master System. Um, Not so much the Atari, because Atari at that time they were pretty much the only game in town. Okay, but it wasn't until Nintendo got in there and basically changed the whole gaming landscape that we had these very affectionate memories of gaming. Okay, and so one thing that CNET pointed out, and I really agree with, is where's the games? Where are the great games? Where are the new games? Because nowadays people they don't have that same attachment to video games as they used to. If you look back at the original Nintendo era, when Super Mario Brothers first came out and it was packaged with the Nintendo Entertainment System, that was amazing. You had games like Kid Icarus, and I could go on, but that was different. And at the time, the hardware, your gaming hardware actually meant something. You actually really felt attached to it. I love my Nintendo Entertainment System. By the time the Super Nintendo came out, I was already a huge Nintendo fan, and I really did enjoy the Super Nintendo. It basically took everything that I loved about the Nintendo Entertainment System. It just made it more powerful. The graphics were great. The sound chip, the music was amazing. They had a Sony sound chip in there. And then for me, the last great system console that Nintendo released was actually the Nintendo 64. Okay, I think that was the last great system that they had. And don't get me wrong, Nintendo had other great systems outside of their consoles. Mainly their Game Boy, which I really, really thought was amazing. Still to this day, it's really a fun system. And also the Nintendo 3DS and so forth. So they had other things besides their home consoles. And the Wii U, I thought that even though it was a bestseller, to me it was more of a novelty, and that's kind of where I think Nintendo is at now. Okay, I mean it's more of novelty stuff. It's less about the games, not like they used to be, and I can't really blame them for that. Not to say that it's right, but as I said earlier at the very beginning of this, the gaming landscape has changed. Okay, before when you had pretty much only a few players, and gaming what wasn't what it is today. I mean, I could still fondly remember back to my very first game system, my Atari, to my Commodore, which wasn't really a gaming system, but you could still play games on it, up to my Sega Genesis, to other systems that I even had the TurboGrafx. I had a Sega Master System, and I even had the 3DO. I bought the Jaguar. That was a huge mistake. I have bought a lot of systems, and the last great system that I really really loved and had a lot of emotional and attachment to, and I had a lot of fun playing, was the Dreamcast. That was the last game system to me that I really really enjoyed and that I really loved. I really did. Now, do not get me wrong. I also had the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I also had the Xbox and Xbox 360. But for some reason, maybe except for the first PlayStation, that one holds a very special moment um, in my uh, in my gaming history as well. But nowadays, I don't really have attachment to any of them. And I think that goes a lot to where we are in the gaming landscape nowadays. People, even though there's going to be fanboys, fangirls who are a Nintendo lover, a PlayStation lover, or Xbox lover, it's not the same. It's not. They're not really tied to the actual consoles anymore. They're more tied to the games. Okay, and the ironic thing is more and more nowadays, it's more about the games. The games are pretty much what sets these systems apart, and it's not even exclusivity anymore, really, because most of the big games, they are on every single platform, and gaming is not about the games anymore. I mean, that I know it's there's a lot of indie developers, there's lots of people trying to make it in this atmosphere, but because there is so many ways that you could game, whether it's on mobile, your consoles, on your PC, on the cloud, through your browser, through to get to the cloud, um, there is a lot more competition than there used to be. Because if you think back about the Nintendo Sega era, there really was only two consoles. And then by the time the PlayStation and Xbox came around, there was more variety there, but there still wasn't many. And this is before the whole internet and before you had really powerful smartphones out. And PC gaming has been around for a while, but it's not as popular as it is today. And so people have a lot more options to game. And so the exclusivity factor, it's not as important as it used to be, because you're probably going to be able to play the game on multiple platforms. And because of that, game companies have to focus more on the bottom line, and every company needs to focus on that. I mean, do not get me wrong, that is very important. These companies, they have to make a profit in order to stay in business. Okay, but more and more now, I think games is just a chore to me. I mean, when you buy, quote unquote, buy a game, you don't own the game anymore. You basically have to download it. And if it is a physical copy, sometimes, like in the case with Tony Hawk's Pro, the last Pro Skater, you only got a demo basically on the actual physical medium, but then you still have to download the whole entire game. It's a 7 gig download just to get the whole game. And then that's kind of where we're at now. It's all about downloads, all about monetizing, all about DOCs, all about marketing. I mean, that's really what the gaming landscape now is. It's not about truly the games anymore, and it's even less about the gaming consoles, because the consoles are just a way for them to get their properties, products, games to the end consumers and to market them. And so that's where games are today. I mean, games is firstly and foremost, it's more about the business end and the marketing end, okay? And then the games are just secondary and sometimes not even secondary. And so, because of all this, I'm just not excited about the Nintendo NX, and I'm not really excited about any console systems coming up right now, including the PlayStation Neo or whatever Xbox has coming up. I am more excited about how developers, these teams of people, how they can innovate in these days. Because, I mean, the disadvantage of having so much competition is that it's going to be harder for you to stand out. The advantage of that is that you're going to have to do some really interesting, some really amazing things to stand out. So maybe because of that, we're going to get a lot, you know, different gaming experience that we've probably never had. And so that's my thoughts on the Nintendo DX and pretty much gaming as a whole. I know that was kind of long, but I think it is something that is going to be around. It's been around for a long time, but it's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for many, many more years to come. It's going to be part of our everyday lives. And with that being said, you really do want the best experience possible. And I know that these game companies, they're not dumb. They're fully aware of what's going on. It's just how can you do that, and at the same time still be profitable. And so that's the challenge that we have today in gaming. So if you had any thoughts on the release of the Nintendo NX next year, or even other things like the PlayStation Neo or PC gaming, just leave any of that below. I'd like to hear your comments. So we'll see you on another episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.